Hello learner, welcome to Problem Solving Code. In today's video, we are going to write a program that going to find a prime and composite number in Python. In this particular video, we will first clear a concept of prime and composite number, and after that we will come up with a logic to solve this problem statement. Although I will be writing a code in Python, but once you understand the logic, you can write a code in any other programming language. So let's get started with the content. Now, what is a prime number? We know that the number system starts from minus infinity to plus infinity. But when we talk about the prime number, it falls in the whole number series, which basically starts from 0, 1, 2, and so on. In that also 0 and 1 need to be neglected because 0 and 1 is neither prime nor composite. Now in order to call a number a prime number, it need to satisfy one condition, and that is the number should be only and only be divisible by 1 and by itself. And if you find any other number that is giving the remainder as 0, then that number is not considered as a prime. The main thing we need to check over here is the remainder. And in programming language, if you want to find a remainder, you can use a modulo operator, which basically return a remainder. Now let's see the sum of the example of prime number. Now if you consider the number 3, when we try to divide it by 1 and 3, it gives the remainder as 0. Therefore it is a prime number. Whereas if you consider the number 4, apart from 1 and 4, the number 2 also gives the remainder as 0. Therefore it is not a prime number. I hope you get the clear picture of how to find a prime number. Now let's quickly see what is a composite number. Even here also you need to keep in mind that 0 and 1 is neither prime nor composite. In previous example, we have called the number 3 as prime and number 4 as not prime. Instead of calling a not prime, we can call that number as a composite number because it satisfies the composite number condition. And the condition is the number will be called a composite number if that number is divisible by 1 and by itself, plus it also have one more integer that divides that number and gives the remainder as 0. Let's see one example to get a clear picture. Now when we divide the number 6 by 1 and 6, it gives the remainder as 0, but the number 2 and 3 also gives the remainder as 0. So the composite number condition gets satisfied here. Therefore we can call the number 6 as a composite number. Here are some of the things that you need to keep in mind while solving this problem statement. The first thing is that you need to keep in mind that 0 and 1 are neither prime nor composite. So while writing a code, you need to handle this condition. The next thing is that if the number is only and only divisible by 1 and by itself and has no other divisor, then we can call that number a prime number. Otherwise, it will be called a composite number. The last thing is that if you divide any number by 1 and by the same number, then you will get the remainder as 0. So the conclusion over here is that you need to check the number is composite from 2 till n-1. So let's write a code that will find a prime and composite number in Python. Let's assume the user is going to enter the whole number. So the first thing we have to do is that we need to take a user input and typecast that input to the integer value. Once we do that, now we need to check whether the user have entered 0 or 1 as an input. If yes, then we will simply write that number as neither prime nor composite. If the user doesn't enter 0 and 1, we have to check whether that number is divisible by any other number between 2 and n-1. And if we find the remainder as 0, then we will print that number as a composite. And lastly, if we don't find any remainder, we will print that number as a prime number. Let's run the same piece of code and see whether we are getting the same output. Let's see one more approach that will help us find prime and composite number using Python. In this approach, we will make use of a counter variable, which will basically store amount of number that gives the remainder as 0. After that, we will take the user input and store that value into the number variable. Now we will check whether the number entered is 0 and 1. And if yes, then we will set the counter as 0. Otherwise, we will go to the else part. Over here, the for loop runs from 1 till n. And whenever we found the remainder is 0, we will simply increment the counter. And lastly, we just have to check the value of counter in order to determine the prime and composite number. If the counter value is 0, then it is neither prime nor composite. Similarly, if the counter value is 2, then it is a prime number. And lastly, if the counter value is more than 2, then it implies it is a composite number. I hope you find this video helpful. Let me know your views in the comment section. Till then, keep learning and keep coding.